God's grace doesn't show up in our lives typically by giving us the privilege of avoiding the dark valleys. God doesn't encounter us when we get just to the other side of it, or we sidestep it, or God takes away all the hard things. 9 times out of 10, dare I say 10 times out of 10, in this life, in this broken world as broken, imperfect people, living among broken, imperfect people, the way that we encounter God most powerfully and intimately is not just on the other side of dark valleys, it is through them. Through the tough stuff of life is when God reveals Himself to us. It's when our faith is tested. It's when things that we know and maybe we learned in Sunday school, or we've sung songs about it, or we've quoted scriptures, or we've said cliche type of things. It's when all of those things are tested, and then they become different. They become real because we've experienced it through the tough stuff of life. What would you describe right now, in your life right now, as a dark valley kind of circumstance? And I recognize that don't apologize for your dark valley. Don't kind of give a disclaimer for it. Just name it for yourself, because some of us, our dark valley is relatively minor. All right, it's a strained relationship that's kind of a minor strain, or it's something that's a little bit hard. And others, your dark valley right now is you're barely holding on to hope, and you're at the end of your rope, and this is a life-defining dark valley. And if you're not in that now, you've probably been there, or you will be there, but I just want you to think for a moment of a dark valley kind of situation that you're facing. And I want to encourage some of you today that if you're going through a dark valley and it's really hard, and it's hard to hold on to hope, and you're a little bit more negative than hopeful and positive, it doesn't make you a bad Christian. It doesn't display a lack of faith. Sometimes life is just hard. And my heart breaks for so many over the years as I've talked with people who are going through a dark valley and it's hard, but then they experience double suffering. There's the dark valley circumstance, and then for too many Christians, there's the guilt and shame that we heap on ourselves because we're not more joyful or hopeful or faith-filled in the midst of that. What if we looked for evidence of God's protection, God's presence in our lives, instead of focusing only on the darkness and the challenges that we are facing? And it's a discipline. We have to choose this in the dark valley. It doesn't come naturally to any of us. Now, just to be clear, I'm not talking about ignoring the painful reality, because we're going to accept the reality. But we're going to learn to, in the challenges of it, look for evidence of God's presence and protection. What if my feelings of fear could redirect me to God's promises of His always extravagant and unconditional love, the enoughness of God's love? But what if your fear of isolation could redirect you to God's promise of His presence? God's promise that you are a part of a family, that He has put you and rescued you into a family where you are loved and treasured. And then the very thing, if we could kind of discipline ourselves to trust God in this way, the very thing that could previously paralyze us and hinder us can become the thing that God uses to strengthen our faith.